This is probably, I would call it a dream Jeep, but it's a monster Jeep.
It's a monster. XJs don't get enough love.
So this is Dude, I Love My Ride. This is Tumbleweed Ranch. This is our bag course, fun course. Thanks for coming.
Yes, sir.
And let's start this, and then you'll learn everything about this Jeep. How long have you been building this?
About 4 years.
4 years. It sounds like you have some meat under the hood.
Yeah, 6-liter truck LS. It's an LQ4. It's got a little baby cam in it and a pretty good exhaust.
And also lots of torque.
Lots of torque, yeah. It has the factory truck long runner intake, so it does have a good amount of torque.
Try to make it as slow as possible so we can see it working, you know what I'm saying?
I'll just bump us down a range here.
It's a 4-speed transmission or a 3?
No, it's a 3-speed transmission.
3-speed transmission.
Gosh, there we go. Okay,
there she is.
Now we're in business.
By the way, what you're not seeing is Graham is playing with his switches and levers. And we'll talk about it a little bit later too.
Yeah, so I mean, you wanted to see how much gear this thing has. So this is first gear at idle, and I'm in 3.8 to 1 low range, and we're just...
So this is not the maximum low range?
No, it will go lower. I have an auxiliary 2.72 to 1 low range that I can compound this a little bit lower.
Okay. Because it's not about flying up a mountain, it's about control, right, and just comfort.
Low speed, creepy crawling, it allows you to... I think it allows you to stay a little safer. Plus, it's just kind of cool. You can, really take your time, place your tires where they need to go.
Yeah. So this is a 2000 XJ, right?
Yes,
Cherokee.
Sir. Yep.
But you've put giant truck axles on it, so it probably is not as maneuverable as it once was. So try to hug this by this right bush as close as possible to it as you can. And we're gonna go down there.
That's all we got.
And you could back up. You could back up and do whatever you want. We're not worried about clearance too much.
No. It's got about 26 inches under the lowest part of the belly.
This is like Unimog, basically.
Yeah.
So, and we kind of want to climb this back up. I'll show you. I'll show you. You see this kind of opening up there?
Right here?
Yeah, so if you then back up and kind of line up. And we can take it slowly too. I mean, there's no need. There's no need to like terrible amount of speed, you know?
Yep. Let's see if I can get that low range back here. There we go.
This is just child's play, right?
It makes trails that I used to have a hard time doing on an ATV very, very easy.
And it's also comfortable.
Yeah, it's not bad.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we're not going like this right now, you know, and shaking.
I think there's only like 8 PSI in these tires.
And then go left after you descend. Left over there. Okay. Sorry, the trail is not defined because it's one of the first times we've been using it this year.
Yep.
And how much money do you have in a project like this?
Right now, including what my wife originally bought this for when she was in high school, I've got just over $32,000 into this.
So she bought it slightly used, right?
Yeah, she bought it from her uncle.
Okay. And then, so that price in 2008, plus everything you did, and you did a lot of the work yourself, or all of the work yourself.
I did, yeah. The only thing on this project that I outsourced was the rebuild of the automatic transmission. Okay. I don't speak automatic all that well.
I don't either.
I rather.
It's like opening a brain.
Yeah, I'd rather.
So go a little bit left, and then we're gonna come down between these bushes.
All right. But yeah, and truthfully, for anybody that wants to build something similar, they could definitely build this cheaper. You don't need the 4-speed Atlas. You don't need Holley EFI.
Okay.
There's absolutely, you don't need coilovers. You can just do standard coils or even leaves if you wanted to.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, you could build this similar
Slightly
Jeep.
to the right.
I'll bet you for less than 20 grand. If you got a welder and some tools and the internet to teach you how to do it.
Yes. Last time I had a Bronco Raptor here stuck beyond belief.
Okay.
So, and then let's pause here. Let's go outside and take a look.
Okay.
So Graham, it's pretty easy, but the bottom is very soft, right? and it's deceiving but I'm confident because you have such a large tire patch. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What do you think?
I'm gonna go for it.
So you're going, and then you're gonna go to the right.
Okay.
And then there is a very similar obstacle to get back out.
Okay.
So you have to get in there and then come back out.
Understand.
Let's do it.
Let's give it a shot.
Power! Woo-hoo-hoo! Dude, that was nothing.
Made quick work of that.
So a factory vehicle would not be able to do that.
Not that easily, that's for sure.
Well, last time we had a Bronco Raptor buried in there.
I think it's a little in better shape now than when the Bronco Raptor went through, but yeah, this rig is a serious crawler.
That's kind of a hole.
That's a bit of a hole.
And I think your tires are doing amazing work. Yeah. Because if you had a skinnier tire, you know what I'm saying? It's going to be sinking down.
Yep. These tires actually really impressed me this winter too. I went snow wheeling a lot, and they do incredibly in the snow. You air them down and they're like 14, 15 inches wide, so they do pretty well.
But dude, you're one of the first people to hear to have tires that are actually set up for mud.
Yeah.
So, Case, what about Tommy's demise? Do I dare?
We have to.
We have
game.
Tommy's demise coming up.
I'm game for anything. Let's
right.
do it.
The only thing that's made it through is Jeeps.
All right, Graham, let's dig in and actually look underneath and see what you've done. First of all, what year is this?
So it's a 2000 Jeep Cherokee
2000.
Freedom.
Okay, XJ.
XJ.
All right. So how did you, when you bought it, what was it like?
So this started life as my wife's first vehicle.
Okay.
She bought this when she was in high school, which is why the headliner's littered with stickers.
Okay.
It's all original.
So she was the original?
She was the original owner, yep.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, and we drove it to 165,000 pretty enjoyable miles.
Okay.
But the 4-liter actually spun a bearing. We were in the middle of a road trip and the 4-liter spun a bearing. It's hanging from the rearview mirror in the cab.
Oh, I see it.
That is to remind me why this project is what it is now.
Okay. So instead of like just writing it off and putting it aside, you decided to transform it.
Yes, I'm a gearhead, and I had always wanted to try an LS swap. I'd read a lot about them and never personally done one. So the original goal was just a 5.3 and a 4L60 and like a 4-inch lift. And as you can see, that's not what we have here. It's spiraled radically out of control.
Well, let's start with the motor. Can we pop the hood?
Of course.
Let's do it. Well, it's already poking out. It wants to come out.
Yeah, I have an explanation for that too. So I could make this fit if I put a Corvette style intake on.
Sure.
Right now it's the big truck, long runner intake, and it just doesn't quite fit. But I thought the hole in the hood was just kind of hot rod and fun, and that's why I did
And it
what
also
I did.
gives it kind of its own character, right?
It does. Yeah, it's like those Hot Wheels cars I had as a kid.
So this is a 6-liter.
6-liter iron block LQ4 out of a 2005 Silverado 2500.
Okay.
It's on Holley Terminator EFI. Just to kind of keep the install a little simpler.
Okay.
The tricky thing I will point out, and it's kind of annoying, but I did have to retain this leg of the Jeep PCM because that's what does all of the body control. All the windows, stereo, keyless entry, all that kind of stuff. So I'm kind of running 2 PCMs in parallel.
Okay.
Which
But all that stuff works.
Oh yeah, everything in this except for the air conditioning is functional.
Okay.
The air conditioning is the final ingredient to make this a very, very functional project.
Well, it's not really a daily driver anymore, is it?
No, unfortunately, no.
All right. So tell me about the axles and suspension. How did this spiral out into this?
So a buddy of mine was parting out a 97 Dodge Ram 2500 and sold me these axles for so cheap I couldn't say no. So it's a Dana 80 rear, Dana 60 front, 488 Yukon gears, ARBs in both ends, and then the front end is also 35 spline chromoly shafts. So it doesn't have that funky center axle disconnect that the second gens used to have.
Okay.
Just to try and beef it up. The suspension is all kind of my own design. The front end I just completely fabricated myself. It's all Rough Stuff Specialties, R-Tech, and like Ballistic Fab Builder parts. It's based on a radius arm, but the secret ingredient actually
Yeah.
is this link right here on the passenger side. So with radius arms, you have a lot of caster gain. As the suspension cycles, you can roll into positive caster as the wheel stuffs up in the wheel well, and then it droops down into negative caster when it droops out to full droop.
Okay.
So you can have a bad caster bind problem.
Okay.
So I adapted this link. This is from a Jeep JK.
Okay.
I should say it's from Metal Cloak, aftermarket suspension company, but
Okay.
it's for a Jeep JK, and I
Okay.
adapted it to fit this. So this packages like a radius arm, but it flexes more like a 3-link. So
I gotcha. So the geometry is a little bit better there.
I'm not going to call it good either, because with radius arms, you can have like weird instant center and like anti-dive characteristics, but to make this package with the deep truck style oil pan, I could not do a 3-link. There was just no way.
Okay.
So kept it radius arm and then just threw this in to alleviate the caster bind.
And you have bump stops and Fox shocks.
Yeah, 2-inch travel. I call them poor man's hydro bumps. They're Daystar Stinger bump stops. And then a Fox 2.5-inch Performance Series 10-inch coilover.
Okay. And I mean, the XJ already, it had a relatively short wheelbase, right, for a 4-door. So you're already starting with kind of a good platform.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's a really excellent platform. The wheelbase is quite good. It's longer than a TJ, a little bit shorter than a JK, 4-door JK.
Yeah.
The only thing that stinks about XJs is their unibody. So the very first thing I did before I started anything at all on this project, and you can actually see them right here, is full bumper-to-bumper 3/16 chassis plates, just to add some stiffness. Those are from, I think, JCR Off-Road. And it's just full chassis stiffener plates.
And rear leaves.
Yep. The rear leaves, I forget what they are, but they're just like a 5-inch lift. They're a little bit longer. They're like a 5-inch lift. I forget even what the spec was. And then they're on a rough country shackle box kit that pulls the shackle down and out of the body as well, just to add some adjustability and strength.
Yeah, right here. And then, of course, dual lockers, right? Front and rear?
Yep, front and rear ARBs.
Okay.
I'll let you in on a little secret. The rear one is not working at the moment.
Okay. It's always a work in progress.
It's always a work in progress. It was working, and then we went wheeling over Memorial Day, and it stopped working. So I need to tear back into that.
Walk me through the Atlas transfer case.
Yeah. So it's a Turbo 400. Reverse manual valve body turbo 400. That's out of like a 77 K30, and then a 4-speed Atlas. So with the Atlas, all that is you have twin sticks for the transfer case. You can operate rear and front outputs independently. And then the 4-speed comes with this auxiliary high-low reduction that goes between the transmission and the transfer case. So compound low range is 10.34 to 1. And it's an awful lot of gear. In first gear, it's 122 to 1 final crawl ratio.
So to put it in perspective, like a pretty decent factory pickup, right now is around like 40 to 1, maybe a little bit higher.
Yeah.
Some of the Jeeps, like new JLs, you can get them up to maybe 100 to 1 with, a lower axle ratio. You're above that. So
yeah, this is threatening Ultra 4 car territory.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's totally overkill. I don't use double low that often in this. I was hoping originally when I built this to keep the axles geared higher than they were, because the Turbo 400 does not have overdrive. So I wanted this to still be a little more streetable, but as you can tell, it's not that streetable. It'll go about 55 comfortably. After that, the suspension's so soft and loose, it just gets scary.
And also, the tires are sticking out because this is basically heavy-duty truck axles on a smaller mid-size
They
SUV.
are full-width, 1-ton axles underneath a pretty small SUV. There's no real simple way to have the GM PCM drive the Jeep gauges.
Okay.
So I just pulled the whole cluster out. I made this simple backing plate, and then this is a 6.86-inch Holley Pro Dash that just interfaces directly with the Holley Terminator. Fully programmable, does data logging, does a little bit of tuning. And then I also just put in a few switches, fuel pump and my master fuel pump, master ignition disconnect. That's just to keep, troubleshooting simpler and to add a little bit of safety as well.
I gotcha. And tires are what size?
38 by 1350 Mickey Thompson Baja Pro XS's.
Okay. So that's a lot of meat. So what does your wife think now? She's like, let's take it to Costco, or?
She has driven it, and I think she enjoys it as much as I do.
Sweet.
But no, she has been very, very patient and encouraging, and I can't thank her enough for letting me build this.
You gave it a second life, basically, or a different life.
Big time.
Right?
Yeah, I gave it a heart transplant, and then everything else.
Leg transplant.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, dude. Well, let's keep moving.
Alrighty.
Graham, so this is Tommy's demise.
Okay.
There's a bypass, but it looks very similar. The problem here is the height of the exit, right?
Yep.
Because you're gonna come down and you have a lot of clearance.
Yeah.
But your winch and bumper might hit the mud on the other side.
I got a pretty good approach angle. Should be all right.
Those are famous last words.
I don't want to embarrass myself.
Okay.
I'm on the internet.
What is this, like an afternoon drive?
Drag your hitch a little bit.
Oh yeah.
That's pretty good, actually. I didn't think that this rig was going to get even that close. This thing is capable, man.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. I try to avoid mud because it's just messy, but yeah, it's doing great. I'm pretty happy with it. Ooh, we got the license plate too. Look at that.
Oh, yeah? Wow. That's pretty good.
You used all of your clearance on that one.
It seems like it.
So now we call it home free, which is not really home free,
Okay.
but it's this way. It's usually not home free because people still get hung up in it, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But since you've done Tommy's demise, I'm not too worried.
No, I think we got it made.
And it's also, do you see how we put some rock down?
Mm-hmm.
Because the bottom was super soft.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that is pretty soft.
Is it soft?
Yeah, it actually is.
All right, and I'm thinking, let's go left.
Okay.
You see, between the tree and this rock, up here.
Oh,
See,
this
there's a
way.
path? Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And going to the right. Graham, I'm so happy, dude. It's a great way to start the year when you brought your crawly Jeep
Yeah.
and you spanked our back course.
Yeah.
Just spanked it.
Thank you guys so much for having me out. I'm glad to show off my Frankenstein project.
Yes. Now it's really rewarding, right?
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
you've been putting so much blood, sweat, and tears into this thing.
I've worked on this thing for entirely too long, and I'm glad it's finally paying off.
This is great. Graham, I brought 2 stickers, not 1. We usually give 1, but since your Jeep did so well,
I appreciate it.
there's a couple stickers for you.
Yeah, greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Dude, it's a Jeep thing with GM a little bit.
With some GM and some Dodge, and then a whole bunch of stuff that I built.
It's an American thing, okay?
Yeah.